So today is Monday, October 25th, 2021. It is 6:34 p.m. and I'd like to call the special meeting and joint work session of the San Leandro Unified School District and San Lorenzo Unified School District Board of Trustees, along with our San Leandro City Council members. I'd like to call the meeting to order. With that, can we have the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Penny, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Sure. If you'd like to join me in the pledge and stand up, we'll begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Sometimes we have a member of the audience that would do a land acknowledgement. I'm not seeing a public comment on that, so we will move on to roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 1B, roll call. The San Leandro Unified School District Board of Trustees. Board members, Oshinsky,
Present.
Perola,
Present.
Sheridan,
Present.
Tate,
Present.
Aguilar,
Present.
Board Vice President Rodriguez,
Present.
Board President Gonzalez,
Present.
all present. For the San Lorenzo Unified School District Board of Trustees, Board members Campos, Gonzalez,
Here.
Senegal,
Present.
student board members Cohetero,
Here.
Du,
Present.
Lucky Simpson, Vice President Medina,
Here, thank you.
Board President Peck,
Here, thank you.
and absent we have Campos and student board member Lucky Simpson. For the City of San Leandro City Council, Council Member Baloo,
Present.
Lopez,
Present.
Simon,
Present.
Acevedo,
Present.
Cox, Vice Mayor Aguilar,
Present.
Mayor Cutter,
Present.
with Council Member Cox absent. This meeting is being held in accordance with the State Emergency Services Act, the Governor's Emergency Declaration related to COVID-19, and AB 361, under which a resolution was approved by the City Council on October 4th, 2021, to allow attendance by members of the City Council by video conference and teleconference. If you joined today's meeting remotely from a PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or Android device, and you do not wish for your name to appear on the screen, we ask that you please use the drop-down menu and click rename to rename yourself to be anonymous. If you joined the meeting by phone and wish to comment during public comment, we ask that you please press *9 and we will select you from the meeting queue when public comment is opened. Please note your phone number will appear on the screen unless you've dialed *67 before dialing into the meeting. Mayor, this concludes the announcements.
Okay, thank you. All right, and if you should see the two other members joining our meeting, if you just alerted our clerk, that would be great. Thank you, if they're needing to be moved over. All right, well, let's get started then. We've got some announcements. I just want to say the announcement, Fran, any announcements?
No, Madam Mayor.
And trying to think, superintendent, thank you, Camp. Any announcements?
Other than just thank you, this is my first meeting, joint meeting as well. So thank you, Mayor Cutter.
Okay, great. And Superintendent McLaughlin.
Yeah, just good to see everybody here, and look forward to the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, great. And so what I'm going to just tell kind of a little bit of how because we have so many participants, what the meeting kind of will look like. And so we are going to have introductions and partners update. It'll be President Gonzalez of San Leandro Unified, President Peck of San Lorenzo Unified, and myself making some introductory comments and kind of updates, not discussion items, but then we will go into our discussion item 2B. And at that discussion item, we will call on members of both boards and the council to give comments, and also have public comments on that item because it will be an item that we're discussing. After that, we're just going to announce, we're not taking a vote, and let San Lorenzo Unified know that they're the host next year. It's not up for vote. We're just appointing you. And then also after that, trustee and member comments. So you'll have your chance to be able to comment on anything on the meeting that you want or not. And then we'll adjourn. So with that, let's get started. And President Gonzalez of San, and if I get confused, I went to school in San Lorenzo. I worked for 28 years in San Lorenzo Unified. I was a school board member on San Leandro Unified, and I'm there now. So I do my San Lorenzos and San Leandros, and you'll know what I mean when I'm calling names out. So with that, let's get started, please. So Evelyn.
Thank you. So the San Leandro Unified School District update. The spring of 2021, the San Leandro Unified School District launched a new strategic plan. Goal 1, engage, educate, empower. Goal 2, educational equity through college and career readiness. Goal 3, equity-centered effective employee engagement. Goal 4, valuing diversity, equity, and inclusion with families and communities. And Goal 5, environmental and technological equity. You can go to the district website and see the State of the District video that goes into more detail on each of these goals. Bond update. So measure J1, all major projects have been completed. They were completed 50% faster than expected. Our HVAC update allowed us to provide the recommended COVID air filtration for all our classrooms and school facilities. The bond projects came in under budget, so the district was able to start a lighting energy retrofit. Measure N projects include the San Leandro High School gym and a new Lincoln campus. Both projects are at the state level for DSA approval. The Roosevelt drop-off and new entry is the first project completed for Measure N. Both J1 and N include short-term tech bonds that allow us to update our tech every 5 years. COVID vaccine update. We are working with the county to offer weekly clinics for 5-year-olds to 11-year-olds after Thanksgiving break. And we're working on pop-ups at elementary and secondary sites for both vaccines. For COVID testing, we currently offer COVID testing at 2 locations. And that concludes the San Leandro Unified School District report.
Okay, thank you so much. Board President Peck, your report, please, from San Lorenzo.
Great, thank you. Thanks to the mayor, the city council, and San Leandro School District for collaborating on this meeting. We really appreciate meeting with our community partners. Many of you know our superintendent, Dr. Darrell Camp, who began his tenure in July 2019. This is his first formal meeting with this group. We also have a new board member who began in December 2020. Please welcome Alicia Gonzalez. I was asked to give a brief update on our district. Most students went back to in-person learning last April, with many more coming back for this school year that began in late August. The students and district staff are still working to make this adjustment. We still have some teacher positions to fill and openings for principals and support staff. This is not unique to our district. There is a statewide and nationwide teacher shortage. This includes a lack of substitute teachers. We are focused on filling these positions. Students are also struggling with adjusting to in-person learning, so we are supporting them with counselors and other staff who are helping them remember rules and addressing behavior issues. The use of social and emotional learning is just one tactic we're applying to help our students. We also offer a robust, independent study program for students of all ages who do not want to or cannot come back to in-person learning. Special thanks to Dr. Amar Sahili, who set up this program to assist those families. Like many California school districts, we have declining enrollment, which calls for us to work on ways to balance our budget with less money coming in. We have a strategic planning team that is working diligently on this issue. Those are the main areas we're focusing on right now and hope to seek solutions that uplift students and respect the diversity of our district. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much. So from the city, the sesquicentennial, meaning San Leandro is celebrating our 150th anniversary. 2022 will commemorate 150 years of San Leandro's incorporation. And I've requested the support of city staff, businesses, schools, districts, community members, and city council to plan and execute this celebratory milestone. I appreciate the support from both of your school districts with promoting all of the events. And we are now, as you both know, doing a logo design contest for our K-12 students. The series of community events will occur throughout 2022. And as we get more into the year, you'll be hearing more and more about it. We are going to be appointing a steering committee soon. And that steering committee will then be dividing up into many different committees. And I'm certainly open to have any of the council, any of the school board members to be part of those various committees. What we're trying not to do, though, is to have any committees that would have a quorum of any body, because then you would have to notice the meetings and make sure that it just makes it so it's not so nimble. But you're certainly welcome to be on any of the other committees, and I'll try to arrange that as I get the interest. Crosstown class corridors. So we're trying to study right now Bancroft Avenue and William Street. The city of San Leandro calls these our crosstown class 4 corridor studies, and we'll identify opportunities to improve safety, access, and mobility for all roadway users along Bancroft and Williams. And it's multimodal, but we're really trying to make sure that people that are biking and walking are feeling safe in San Leandro. And Bancroft Avenue and William Street are 2 of the major corridors that provide important connections to the 9 schools, transit, housing, recreation areas, and business. More than 9 schools in that area, but those are the ones that are more or less cross-town or have students from all areas attend. The study will include community engagement, and I'll make sure that we have our staff get a hold of your staff and let you know, so that these perhaps could be sent out to parents and students alike, whoever is interested in helping us with this crosstown traffic, where our goal is safety, developing street designs that provide separated bikeways and improvements for walking that help people feel safer and more comfortable on Bancroft and Williams, and to improve school accesses. With that, we just wanted to update Farley Pool. The pool reopened on July 19th, and it was closed for the season, the 2 seasons previous to that. And so we've got that amenity back in operation. And also we've just announced recently that the Boys and Girls Club reopened their pool recently. So now 2 of our pools are back. Actually, the other one didn't close. So we're back in business just in time for all the rain. I want to announce that we're having a police oversight forum. The city of San Leandro hosted 2 community forums on community police oversight. The first was Saturday, October 16th, and the second Thursday, October 21st. So they were both this past week. And the forums focused on engaging residents in the background of a police oversight forum. The last item I want to update you on is I've started as we are coming back in September, I've started trying to highlight kindness in our city and our schools. And so far we've had 3 award winners, random acts of kindness. So kindness, it doesn't have to be something that you're spending money on or really that's getting a whole bunch of advertisement, but really the random acts of kindness that make life easier for students, for elderly, for just people in your city. And I know that so much of that occurs at the school level. So really what I'm asking is for my colleagues to help identify people that are doing these random acts of kindness. And if you would send them to myself or to Fran Robustelli, our city manager, we are trying to highlight a new person or group every council meeting, which means the first and third Monday of the month. And so far, we've had people who are Larry Hulls, who's done the butterfly garden across from BART. We had 3 young kids who had a lemonade stand and donated the money to a food pantry, things like that. This people doing kind acts, not for credit, but just because they're kind. So with that, that concludes my update. And I think that it's time to get into the digital divide. I'm pleased that we have I know that we have 2 of our members making Sadiku, and I don't know if it's Tony or Mr. Simon who is going to be from the school districts, and then Tony from our office. But as we go through this, if you could please introduce yourself a little bit to our to each other, because I'm not familiar with you. You're probably not as familiar with us in city and school issues. And we'd really like to meet you because this is such important work that we're doing. So with that, I'm going to just hand it off to Tony. And then Tony, if you can segue into your presentations.
Okay, well, thank you, Mayor. And so my name is Tony Patala, and I am the CTO for the city here in San Leandro. And I've been here nearly 8 years, and it's really, it's a pleasure, to be asked to put together this presentation. It's an issue that we've worked on here for quite a bit, and we'll be discussing some of what we've done, what the pandemic brought to bear, and kind of some next steps on where we go from here, along with, it'll be me and Mr. Larry Simon from the San Leandro Unified and Dr. Alex Sadiq from San Lorenzo Unified. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. And so this is kind of just at a really high level, what is the digital divide? And this is kind of some definitional introduction. So in sum, it's just measured by, those who have access to the digital economy and digital tools and services and devices, and those who don't. And the way this looks in our community is those who lack connectivity, broadband, high-speed internet, and digital literacy skills. So that's really the digital divide at a high level. And this is something that is systemic, and it's not just in our community, it's throughout our society. And it's a cradle to grave type of a problem that impacts kids and schools, and we'll hear the perspective of the school districts all the way through their peak earning years in the economy into their golden years when they need to access services and entitlements that they're entitled to that they may not be able to because of the applications and online systems that provide a barrier to that if they don't have these skills. So that's really the global perspective that we look at. Is it impacts every facet of our lives, and it's one that we certainly see here in our community. So next slide, please. So this is a map. So we did some work. One of the things we've done on digital divide in the last several years was working with a researcher. We got paired through some grant funding with a researcher to look at digital divide issues here. And one of the things they looked at was availability of broadband internet. And so this is one measure of digital divide is do you have access to, is broadband available? And what we see in our communities, and this map thankfully includes Ashland and San Lorenzo, the unincorporated areas, is we have lots of availability. We have broadband providers. This is high density. This would be classified as high density by the FCC, where some zones have 3, 4, 5, 6 plus or more providers. So that tells you that if there's two kind of causal reasons or two explanatory reasons why someone may not have broadband at home, it's typically availability. So it's a desert, there's no broadband. And think of your rural communities typically are just a broadband desert. And the other one is affordability. And so what this map tells us straight away is that the issue in our community is affordability. And so it's the unable to afford high-speed broadband in-home access. And I'm going to get into a more granular definition than this high-level definition in a second here. So let's go to the next slide. So this is some data from the census. This is the most recent census data that's been published. It's from 2019, so this is pre-pandemic. We don't know yet what the pandemic impact has been on this. However, what we see and what I've highlighted here, I apologize for a couple of things. One, this is just San Leandro City. This is not the unincorporated areas, although we can extrapolate. And two, I don't like to typically put in a PowerPoint a bunch of small little numbers and texts, but this is copied right from the census and it's from data.census.gov. And I'm going to call out the important stuff that I've highlighted. So the first one is that the measure that we look at the most for measuring the digital divide in our community is this one broadband, such as cable, fiber optic, and DSL. That's when you crack open who has internet and who doesn't. This is really the most telling statistic because this is measuring who has broadband subscription in their home, right? So it also tells us, this is more recent. Years past, they didn't tell us cellular data with no other type of internet subscription. We had to assume that information, but now they give it to us. It's 11%. Well, we would say, based on our definitions we've used in our planning at the city, that does not qualify as broadband at home. Having a cell phone and a cell plan is not equal to, is not equitable with people who have computers and laptops and high-speed internet at home. So we look at the broadband subscription, and what we see in San Leandro is 76.4% as of 2019, which if you look the other way means that 23.6% do not have it. That's the digital divide quantified in our community is 23.6%, which is actually a 1.6% uptick from the last time I looked at this a couple of years ago, which means that the digital divide has gotten worse in the last few years. Certainly not because of the programs we put together, but just because of factors in our community. So the other one is income. And again, you can see here less than 20,000 income, 31% don't have broadband. So 1 out of 3 people that come from a household less than 20,000 income don't have home internet. That is the digital divide. That's a telling statistic, 1 out of 3. Next slide, please. So here, this again comes from the study we did with the researcher over the summer. This was a program called STIR Labs. And we've plotted this on the census tracts. And again, my apologies for not having the unincorporated areas here, but the one on the left, my left, is the one that really is telling here, because you see this green strip highlighted across those strips, greater than 19% or more of residents in those census tracts don't have home internet. So that is where the need is greatest. And if you look at households without computers, it's similar, and households less than 75,000, again, similar. You see the correlation between these areas, and you can see the correlation between income and the digital divide. So this is the digital divide in our community. When we talk about the digital divide, this is what we're looking at. And this is what our efforts are going to try to help. So the next slide, please. So from the city's perspective, I'm going to highlight a couple of programs that we've done in the last few years to address the digital divide and digital inclusion. The first one is the City Council unanimously adopted the Fiber Optic Master Plan, a Smart City Strategy in 2018. That included a chapter that was dedicated to digital inclusion, which really served as a roadmap for a lot of the programs we put together. Next slide. And here again, I will apologize because this is not my typical thing to give you a bunch of tiny little text and ask you to read it all. But I wanted to point out a few things in here that I think are useful. And so some of the things we've done, partner with nonprofits, create a hotspot lending program through the library, which I'll discuss in a second. But also in here was partner with San Leandro and San Lorenzo Unified School Districts to develop joint outreach, right? And that was called out as a recommendation in our Smart City Strategy in 2018, which I'll say is a bit of foreshadowing, because that's the type of best practices we can be looking at. So next slide, please. So this is our Wi-Fi network. I'm just going through some of the stuff we've done. And we have 19 locations now. We have some 4,000 devices that connect, 2 terabytes of data transmitted a month. If 1 gigabyte of cellular data is on average $15 a month, and we're transmitting 2 terabytes of data, which is 2,000 gigabytes, that's about $35,000 of high-speed data that's transmitting through our public network every month for free. So that's the value of the public network. But in our research over the summer, we found that most users connect no more than twice, and most only from 1 location. So interestingly, we don't have a lot of repeat users on the network, despite the steady usage. So just an interesting statistic. Next slide, please. So here's some of the programs. Now I've highlighted the San Leandro Public Library, and I want to really provide the accolades that are due, because the San Leandro Public Library is a tremendous institution, and they are really on the ground. They are the community center through which these programs are delivered. And so a couple of the ones we've done in recent years is partnering with a nonprofit called Tech Exchange. We did a tech fair where we used refurbished city computers and gave them away to the public. Over 160 families received computers and signed up for low-cost internet service through that tech fair. When COVID hit, we partnered with Tech Exchange again and utilized $10,000, it's actually $12,000 grant from East Bay Community Energy, and gave away tablets through the library. And then what's here in the picture is this is Mobile Beacon, which is a nonprofit that provides refurbished hotspots. We in 2019 won what they call the Wi-Fi Lending Launch Kit. Is a digital inclusion grant program, and we were an award winner to create a pilot program at the library with 25 hotspot laptop kits, and the library created what they call the Tech to Go program. They've since expanded that. They now have 50 hotspot only kits and 10 or 18 kid Chromebook hotspot kits, which are now you can lend, you can check out through the library just like material. The next slide, we have some data on that, on how those programs are performing. So every time we send them out, we have a survey that was put together to track the usage, and this was to help with complying, reporting for the grant. 69% low income, 73% don't have internet at home, 96% of people very satisfied with the Tech to Go kits and achieve their goal, and 50% don't have a computer. So you can see that a program like this is meeting the need. However, it's a small program, we're not, but this type of program is working in the community. In the next slide, we can look at the reported usage, and we see 24% of people who check these out do it for workforce training, 37% for job searching, 31% for homework, and 25% leisure, because we all need to watch Netflix every now and then. Next slide, please. So the final one I want to highlight, this is upcoming. That's the stuff we've worked on. This is the stuff that we're going to launch through the San Leandro Public Library, again, in partnership with a nonprofit called Community Tech Network. We won about $60,000 from the California Emerging Technology Fund to launch digital literacy training in the library. And so the main library will reach about 83 recipients, and the Manor Library will reach 56 recipients. This is over a 2-year span, it's a 2-year life cycle, and they're small cohorts. So you train a group of 6 to 8 people. They go for six weeks, and then you train another small group, and that's why you stretch that over 2 years. And everyone who goes through the program will get a laptop that they can take home. They'll provide services to help them sign up for low-cost internet. So that's coming. We're hoping to launch that later this year. And that's kind of the city's perspective on how we're looking at this. But now I'm going to transfer it over to Mr. Larry Simon to tell us about San Leandro Unified's perspective and the great work that they've done on this issue.
Thank you. If we can have the next slide. So my name is Larry Simon. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for San Leandro Unified School District. I'm just starting my 3rd year, and I'm incredibly fortunate to be able to serve this community. So when we think about the digital divide, it's not just a problem of access, which loosely we can think of as having computers and the internet, but also the important digital literacy skills. So even before the pandemic, we've always thought of weaving technology with instruction as an important focus here in San Leandro Unified. And as a result, our technology department is integrated with our data services and under the educational services division to ensure close connection between technology, daily teaching and learning, and also to ensure close integration with all layers of the workforce. We know that removing these barriers to access and expanding digital literacy skills will help bridge the digital divide. It's not enough to just get the people the stuff. We need to ensure that it's effective and that everyone is supported when things go wrong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through some of the things we've done here in SLUSD, where we're going, and some of the challenges that remain. And the next slide, please. So here's a high level at a glance of our tech since March of 2020. So when schools had to shutter back then and districts were scrambling to find tech and support remote learning from home, San Leandro was ready for remote learning. We had not only the Chromebooks, but the related accessories such as monitors, document cameras, quality headsets to make remote learning possible. Through leveraging local, state, federal funding avenues, we also quickly procured hotspots to support our students who needed help getting access from home during distance learning. And I really can't state enough how positive it was for San Leandro families that we were able to work around some of the industry technology shortages and make sure we had a device for all the students who requested them. Having this foundation before and at the onset of the pandemic positioned San Leandro Unified students with one-to-one connectivity at home and to move into a 2-to-1 environment when they return for fall opening, as we are providing devices to keep at home for TK3 with class sets at school and a checkout system for loaner students for grades 4 through 12. We are, of course, ever grateful for the ongoing support from San Leandro voters with measures J1 and N, which helped fuel these processes, and to our board and superintendent for being forward thinking. Can we have the next slide? So that is it. One more, please. That's a duplicate. Okay. Our goal around technology is for educators to use it to increase and support student connection and universal access to learning. This is kind of a busy slide, but I'll sort of explain what it's about for you. So alongside attention to procuring quality devices, accessories, and high-speed internet, our tech department spends a great deal of effort integrating closely with our teaching and learning and special education departments to build a robust catalog of blended learning platforms to meet the needs of our students. This past year during the pandemic, we've added to this list while also adopting new TK-12 curriculum for science, history, social studies, and world language. These new curricula are all tech integrated and accessible for students at home and school, while also meeting next generation standards and forwarding the goals of our San Leandro strategic plan, specifically in regards to responsive teaching and learning. This is a list of our current TK-12 platforms and curriculum available at every San Leandro school and supported centrally by our Ed Services Division, which includes our tech department. Next slide, please. So providing support for all those resources you just saw down to the classroom level requires a flexible and talented crew. We're proud here in Ed Services to be partnering with teachers to support their fellow peers through our technology education consultant program that we call it the TECH program. And we know that training and supporting our teachers is not enough, especially when students were learning from home and still are. For this reason, when we shuttered schools in March of 2020, we went into emergency distance learning. We opened a multilingual help desk for students and families with phone and online support. We also offered home visits by request to troubleshoot access issues as well. And lastly, for this, as we all know, these devices tend to break down. So in San Leandro Unified, with the goal being access, we have a repair program for student devices at no cost to them. Now, this doesn't mean we don't keep track of the technology since they're all very expensive, valuable resources. But we know that with our instruction being so tightly coupled to the technology, we don't want students to miss a beat and fall behind due to lack of access. Next slide. So now I'm going to talk about where we're going and some of the challenges that still remain. Next slide, please. I think if you click a couple of times, the bullets will come up. So where we're going next is driven by the primary goal of ensuring continuity of learning, whether it's because of the pandemic, a smoke day, or because students need more alternative and non-traditional ways of engaging with school. We want to provide both the tech and tech infrastructure and the collaborative professional development that allows for multiple formats of teaching and learning possible for both the student and teacher. This little animated video on the side our tech team made shows you was rolled out when we started the concurrent teaching model last spring during hybrid learning. It illustrates the dual track agenda of procuring the best technology for our staff, but also modeling effective and connected to our teaching and learning goals. Can we go to the next slide? I think one more there. One more. Thank you. All right. So the district's has been well inventoried on devices for some time since we've had a one-on-one initiative, but it also means that our fleet needs to be refreshed. A large number of our older devices became end of life this summer, and we know that, but we know those still have some use, and we don't want to be a creator and driver of creating landfills of old devices. So we repurposed some of those old devices as a secondary device for our younger grades, so they can be 2-to-1 and not have to take a device back and forth. And that's an ongoing effort right now. Parallel to this challenge of ensuring students have high quality access, we also know that our teachers need modern devices, as well as our classified staff, our special education, paraeducators, et cetera, who all provide the wraparound services that support our community. So being proactive about the tech our employees use in developing work-based solutions, such as in-house COVID case tracking, has been essential in streamlining work and providing a quality experience for our students and staff. Next slide. Okay, so here's one of the, as we transition a little bit into a few of the challenges that remained. So as we went through the start of the pandemic and began distributing hotspots, it became clear that it wasn't just having access, but having adequate access. I'm sure a lot of you experienced as well with an entire family working from home. You discovered the internet service you had just wasn't sufficient. What you're seeing here is a map with all of the green areas being where the hotspots we distributed, the 1,500 to 1,800 hotspots we distributed over the last year, went across the city of San Leandro. And I believe seeing it like this makes it pretty clear that it's not just an isolated problem to a subset of our students, but something that affects our entire community. San Leandro IT worked hard in coordination with our site office staff, principals, parent facilitators, and other departments to ensure student with connectivity issues, whether they had home internet or not, were able to get what they needed to get online. But this isn't a solved issue. This is an area that we have talked about, myself and my two colleagues, an area our agencies can work on in the future. Next slide, please. So in closing, none of what we described here would be possible if we didn't work collectively as a leadership team. I want to thank Dr. Patel in Ed Services, Dr. Collins in Business Services, Dr. Zonavatine in Admin Services, my superintendent, Dr. McLaughlin, and our Board of Education, who help us deliver these resources to the community. Especially working together, we leveraged all the available resources and the new ones that came about in the last year and a half to provide all these opportunities. Picture on the right here, the E-rate fund, the Emergency Connectivity Fund is a new one, California Teleconnect Fund, among a variety of others. And of course, the most support, the biggest props to our community for supporting our technology efforts via our measures J1 and N bonds, which help build this great foundation we have. And with that, I'd like to pass it to my colleague in San Lorenzo, Dr. Siddiq.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alex Siddiq. I'm the Director of IT at San Lorenzo Unified School District. I've been there almost 3 years now. It's my pleasure working at San Lorenzo, and it's also my pleasure to be here. I want to provide some highlights of what we have done in the last 18 months at San Lorenzo. As you know, the digital divide, if you can please go to my slide, please. As you know, the digital divide is not a new phenomena. There are many studies and articles that are written about it. It should be highlighted that the digital divide becomes even wider when there are many vulnerable children, students of color, low-income students, English learners, students with disabilities, and homeless youth amongst your student population. Our efforts at San Lorenzo Unified are to reduce the digital divide that results in the homework gap by using deliberate approaches that involve providing our students and support staff access to devices, improving access to internet, improving digital literacy, and providing technical support. The equity implications of digital divide and impact on learning have been brought into sharper focus as our district started to grapple with the COVID-19 crisis.
Okay. Appropriate to have a tech glitch in the middle of our tech presentation. Usually it's my fault, but this one I'm not taking credit for. So I don't know if somebody has.
If Dr. Sadiq turns off his camera, often that will solve the problem.
Yeah, I don't.
It may not, but it can't hurt for him to do that.
Right. I'm not sure if he can hear us, is what I'm saying. So if somebody has his phone number that could let him know that he's.
Sure, I can do that, and we can continue in just a minute. Let me do a text.
Okay, great.
Okay. He's coming back. Let's see. Sorry, I can't text as quick as the kids do. So
No, I get it. I get it. Yeah, and it's going to take him a moment maybe to re-engage.
you did. So I'll pick up, and then he can jump in whenever you see him back in. Please just alert me, and I'll be quiet. But just in the interest of time, I'll just share. So obviously, we've made it an attempt to get devices in the hands of our kids. Okay, he needs to be let in, is what I'm hearing from a text right now.
Okay.
So, let's see. I'll pause.
Our staff is smart enough to know that I'm not the one that lets people in or out, They don't give me any control over the meeting except for the calling on public comments. So with that, as soon as he joins us, then he can.
So just to continue though, while he's trying to join again, so obviously we made an attempt to get devices in the hands of our kids. And that's just not devices. Of course, the hotspots have been a big part of our outreach efforts also. So as we start this school year, we're proud to say that we're clearly far more advanced than what we were a couple years ago in terms of having devices in the hands of our students. If you go to the next slide, you have an idea that Dr. Sadiq is sharing the amount of Chromebooks that went home over mainly the end of the 1920 school year, and then definitely the 2021 school year. So at this stage, we're also moving to an environment where we're expecting to have 2 devices for every student. So students will not have to transport the devices to and from school. We have a device for our students at school and a device for our students to keep at home for this year. All of those have not been totally deployed as of this point, but students will have access to devices both at home and at school. We are finding that one of our challenges has been in doing this, we need to reevaluate our distribution system because of the number of devices that are being distributed compared to a couple years ago. So that's been a challenge. Is Dr. Sadiq back? I don't want to go too far. Okay, so you can see here approximately 80% of our students do have a device deployed to them to use at home. It's interesting though, we have some students that desire not to have a device that they can utilize at home. They prefer to use a device that's already at home for them. So as we go to the next slide, you have an idea of our 9,000 plus students, how many hotspots were distributed. Because like in the main part of San Leandro, we do have students that have, Okay, keep getting text. So we do have students that needed to have a hotspot in order to connect with the internet. In other words, they were spotty internet at the home. And as you can imagine, just like it was stated earlier, some of our students were needed a hotspot in order to have more reliable internet as well. So they might have internet at home. However, the hotspot just diversifies the ways that students can connect to the devices. And let's go to the next slide. So one of the issues we've been working on is to diversify our software programs that can go along with the devices. And you see some of the software programs that we've been engaged in since some were around before the pandemic, and then some are new after the pandemic. But clearly in the last 18, 19 months, there's been an emphasis on how we can accelerate learning using technology. So we know that it's not the golden savior for education, but we are trying to utilize it as a accelerant to learning. And our teachers are getting more and more comfortable with being able to use numerous ed tech tools. With that, that's led to an increased demand on our instructional technology services department. And how do you support our educators in utilizing all of these devices? So it's been a challenge once again for our ed tech team, as well as our teachers and our site administrative leaders. All have been challenged, and all are, I'm going to say, all are responding and recognizing where are we at this time. We've tried to say, okay, we're going to be further along now than we were in 2019 or in 2020. And I realize that some overachievers recognize that we're not where we want to be, but we are definitely moving in the right direction. So you see some of the tools there. All of our, we're particularly proud of, and not without some controversy, our use of Canvas. We've heard very clearly from some of our educators and many of our students that they appreciate that we're utilizing Canvas at our secondary sites. And we know that that's going to put our students in a better position when they move to higher education, as many of our students will. Obviously, Canvas use or other online programs are utilized in many of our higher education systems. All right, next slide. So obviously, I won't go into detail because I don't have the detail, but I can say this: our instructional leadership team has provided numerous opportunities for our staff to engage in learning. We had a number of professional learning opportunities during the summer months. You can see June 11, 2021, we offered an Ed Tech Symposium, and then we have been constantly providing asynchronous, a word that we didn't use before the pandemic, but asynchronous and synchronous learning opportunities for our staff. So real-time learning opportunities.
He's in.
I believe he's back.
Okay, Dr. Sadiq, you're back. So I'm going to be quiet right now. I did talk to the previous two slides, probably inadequately, but I did speak to the other two slides. So you can take it from here. Thank you.
I think, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. My internet just froze, and I'm using my phone to join. Thank you, Dr. Kemp, for covering for me. I just want to add a couple of things about the last slide that was presented. So based on our latest stats at San Lorenzo Unified, we have issued about 7,000 Chromebooks. That covers about 80% of our students. And then we continue to meet students' need with regular distribution schedules at each of our sites. And then on the next slide, during the pandemic, if we can go back, I just want to go to the one about the Wi-Fi and hotspots. Thank you. So during the start of the pandemic, we explored ways to improve internet access at home. And so far, we have distributed over 1,000 T-Mobile Wi-Fi hotspots, and we continue to monitor demand and utilization. Based on our current data, the demand for new devices has significantly stabilized. And right now we're issuing about 2 to 3 devices per week. Also, based on the data we get from T-Mobile, we're seeing that many of those devices that we have distributed are not fully utilized. So we're watching that. So we're hoping that families and students are finding other ways to get to internet. Can I have the next slide, please? And also to improve digital literacy and curricular engagement, at San Lorenzo, we have implemented about 20 different or about 20 new edtech tools to help create individualized lessons, and then also to improve learning experiences that fosters a sense of inclusivity and boost learning capabilities for all our students. And so that has been one of the things that we have done to not only improve engagement, but also to increase the use of technology. May I have the next slide, please? And also, sorry, I think I'm out of sync here. And also to support our teachers with distance learning and to improve adoption of needed edtech tools. We did about 1,000 workshops, PD offerings, and one-to-one sessions with our teachers. And also that involved community training. We also helped improve technology and integration for our students. So we provided a lot of online resources for our students to be able to engage with technology. And at the end, as Dr. Kemp was referring, we did do a large edtech symposium that included a lot of participation by big tech companies such as Microsoft, Google. We had Canvas and many others to help our educators leverage the best practices and to improve overall learning outcomes and to reduce digital divide. May I have the next slide, please? And then before March of 2020 at San Lorenzo, we were less than 1-to-1 as a district as far as our devices were concerned. And 70% of those devices were near end of life. And a lot of them had close to expiration of a license with Google. So as of today, the district is 2-to-1 capable. Every academic teacher has access to a Chromebook cart, and every student in our district can check out the device for home use. So that is something that we're very proud of. May I have the next slide, please? So while the distribution of Chromebooks, the implementation of edtech tools, and the delivery of professional development were very important to us, we also kept our eye on the network operations, improving network bandwidth and internet connectivity. In addition, to improve digital citizenship, the district implemented several board policies regarding acceptable use, social media, and web publishing, as a result of us seeing a huge increase in students getting onto the internet. Also, to effectively manage a large number of edtech tools, including e-curriculum, district adopted Canvas learning management software, and Canvas improves students' interaction with the curriculum and promotes greater collaboration and parental involvement with students' education. Like other districts, San Lorenzo has maximized any one-time funding from the stimulus monies and other programs such as E-Rate to improve connectivity and its overall infrastructure. May I have the next slide, please? So we continue to learn and adapt to new normal. We see significant increases in operational costs as demand for technology continues to be on the upward trajectory. Adapting to a new normal continues to be stressful as the footprint of technology on the landscape of teaching and learning gets larger. Our data-driven decisions in collaboration with other organizations such as the County Office of Education and other districts in California helps improve our operation and our advances toward reducing the digital divide. I'm very grateful to be working with Larry and also with Tony. And also I'm very thankful that our superintendent, Dr. Camp, and our Board of Education is enabling us to improve our technology integration and to help reduce the digital divide. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for overcoming your difficulties. I know coming back, it can be quite stressful. I've been there myself. So what we normally do in our council meetings is we have our staff presentation, and then we take public comments on that presentation, and then we will go to council member and board member comments. So right now I'm going to look over to our public, and I do see one hand. Leticia, if you could help us.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the public, we are now opening a public comment for item 2B. Once again, if you join the meeting remotely from a PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or Android device and you wish to comment, we ask that you please select the raise hand icon to speak. And if you join the meeting today by phone, we ask that you please press *9. Going over to the attendees, I see 11 attendees with one raised hand. We will go ahead and unmute Christopher Bammer.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So we're not having item 2, just regular public comments. I can only comment on the digital divide. Is that what the way I understand it?
You can, the things that we're deliberating on is this digital divide. If you'd like to comment on that, please, the time is yours right now.
I didn't have anything to say about that. I wanted to make a public comment during item 2, which was skipped. So we're not doing that tonight? It's on the agenda, item 2. We're not doing it?
We did do it. Rich, are you?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. Could you please answer for us? Thank you.
This is a special meeting, and special meetings only have comment on items that are specifically on the agenda. There's no time for public comment on items not on the agenda, since this is a special meeting. So the comment should be focused on the particular agenda item.
Okay. I noticed his snap. Did we lose him, Leticia? I guess. All right. Thank you. Now, generally, we have some follow-up, but I'm going to ask that if you could, since we have so many members, if you could please use your time to get all your comments out at once. I'll call on everybody once to go ahead and speak. If you'd like to, please raise your hand and I'll just go down the list. So Councilmember Acevedo, please.
Hello, everyone. I just want to, I'll go to all my stuff now then. Okay. Yeah, I'm really impressed by the way we're bridging the digital divide with the city, the school districts, and we're doing a good job. I have a question for Sadiq, Dr. Sadiq from the San Lorenzo Unified School District. You say that we have 7,000 devices are out, and that's 80%. That other 20%, who are those 20%? And also, you said every student could get a device if they want to. Are those part of the 20% that could get a device, or is there not enough devices available?
Thank you. What we are doing is we're asking all our students to get a device, but we're seeing also that some students are not checking them out because they don't want to use a Chromebook. Some students does have a device at home currently, and they just want to use that. But our sites are reaching out and trying to improve that. And, it's basically that's that. But we have, based on our checkout, we have about 7,000 so far that we have accounted for. And that 20%, we continue to reach out, and we have the capability to give those devices if they choose to.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay. All right, well, I'll get all my comments out of the way. Okay, for San Lorenzo Unified School District, I'm hearing good things about they're happy about the way the name of the school was changed to the Grizzlies. I think that was good for the community. But I'm also hearing about PE classes. Is that true that is there some issue with PE classes going on at San Lorenzo Unified? I mean, at the school district that you guys know of?
Perhaps Dr. Camp or Dr. McLaughlin could explain about PE, as we used to take PE and it was a required course for years. Now it's a required course only partially. And
okay, well, I was just wondering if the class was if PE is offered in the school district. Maybe I should clarify it a little bit.
The quick answer is yes. The PE is offered and we have to. And we do have some staffing shortages in that area for San Lorenzo.
Okay. Okay. Well, I've heard that. That's why I'm asking, just to clarify for the community. Okay. So that's all for the San Lorenzo Unified. For the San Leandro Unified School District, I'm really impressed with the San Leandro Unified School District. My kids go to the schools and they're really bridging the digital divide. Anybody that needs a hotspot or Chromebooks, they're getting it. And the only issues I have was with the start times. It seems like all those start times are at the same time. On Bancroft, Jefferson starts at 8:10, the high school starts at 8:10, and I believe Bancroft starts at 8 or 8:20. So it's causing a jam on Bancroft Avenue, and a lot of people are getting their driveways blocked. So I don't know if we need to stagger the start times or something, because that's really an issue. And on Dutton also, people are getting their driveways blocked because people are rushing to get their kids to school and they're blocking people's driveway. And we've talked to the police about it so they can go down there more and, drive around and patrol. But yeah, so yeah, I'm hearing issues on that on William Street, where there's 2 schools, and on Bancroft, where there's 3 schools, and on Dutton. So I want us to look into some kind of solution for that to help the residents. And then my last thing is, I think we need more joint meetings like this. I've mentioned it before, for years I mentioned it. I believe we need at least 2 meetings like this a year so we can set goals and objectives, and then we can meet again and see if they're getting met. And yeah, I think that would be really good. I know I talked to the city manager, Fran, and she said that she's meeting more with the superintendents from both districts. So that's good. So that's a step forward. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. McLaughlin, did you want to just address about the start times? And I think that there's 3 different times, but very close together. And wondering if it used to be that there were administrators out in front to help kind of push the parents along, because let's face it, it's the parents who are parking in everyone's driveway. And are there things that we could be doing?
Yeah, well, yeah, they're blocking the driveway, and also it's traffic jams too, but yeah. But I mean, that when you put 3 schools close to each other, I mean, I know it's a hard solution, but yeah, I'm just suggesting this. Go ahead.
Yeah, schools were built when we had buses, so there's always going to be a challenge with traffic, and the schools do have staggered times, but some parents will drop them off early at the other ones. So yep, we'll keep doing what we're always doing. We're out front dealing with traffic, and it's a problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Trustee Tate, please.
Hi, thank you. The presentation was great from each individual. I appreciate your time. The questions I have or the comments I have can be answered by either the city or either district. But I'm wondering, the digital divide will always be there. So as we try to narrow down the divide, I heard someone mention about the outreach. So when it comes to outreach, how are we providing outreach? How often? Because I would think it would be continuously throughout the year. And then also, I thought I heard someone say that the cell phone usage is not counted as internet service per se. And I could be mistaken on that, but I would hope that we would be able to count cell phone usage, because we have more people that use cell phones exclusively as opposed to having a laptop or another type of device. So I'm wondering, how are we trying to rectify that? So as I stated earlier, it can be for anyone to answer that, not each district or city. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Well, I'd like to take a shot at that, Board Member Tate. And so the first part of that is we actually had a recommendations or some ideas that we had brainstormed that we were going to present at the end. And that's okay. But one of those was joint outreach. And this is an area perhaps where there is the ability for these agencies to coordinate together on co-promotion of each other's programs, social media, sending out. We actually did that with our tech fair, where San Leandro Unified sent out our flyer in their take-home materials because we want to work together and reach that population. So I think those are areas where there's a lot of potential for the agencies to work together. And then the second part of that, this is my fault. I said that when I look at digital divide, I don't consider the internet only to meet the need. And all I meant by that, that's more of a subjective thing. That's not any, it's not rules based or anything. That's just me saying that I think that somebody, and this is also based in the digital inclusion community, tends to feel like people having just a cell phone and cell service is not really the same as having the ability to get on a high-speed internet and do spreadsheets and do data crunching, or the sorts of things that build digital skills, and certainly for students, the sorts of things that open up opportunities in, say, Silicon Valley. So that's kind of what I meant. That was a personal thing, and I apologize if that wasn't clear. That's my fault. But in the numbers, what we saw was 11% of households in San Leandro only have a cell phone internet. Certainly, they still have internet, and they can Google and they can do everything. But when you talk about building like really deep digital skills to participate in the digital economy, some of the research that's out there shows that it's just not as well as having a laptop and high-speed internet. So I see the slide is up here, so I'll just highlight the couple of things that we're bringing all together, where that it is, as you mentioned, on Board Member Tate, it is a systemic issue. It's not going to go away. It persists, and we're not going to solve it overnight. We're not going to solve it in this meeting, and it falls along these two issues in our community, our shared community, of affordable in-home broadband and digital literacy training. And those are really the two areas where the efforts here for us would be best served to address. So I have the co-promotion is in here, and there's these provider-driven programs. There's a lot of funding. I don't want to go on too much here, but it might sound hyperbole to say that this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity, but there is a lot of funding, both at the state level and the federal level. That is, the pandemic shined, it illustrated how pernicious of an issue this is. And so there is a lot of funding out there right now. And I think that kind of can help guide some of the discussion around where the opportunities are for us to work together.
And if I can, I'd like to add from the SLUSD side, we're constantly able to offer these devices to our students. We're always on the lookout for who is short of tech. We have enough devices to give anyone who needs one a device. Especially during the pandemic last year, one thing we constantly did was we were constantly looking at attendance. And for the students who are missing days coming in, is it an access issue? We can get you a hotspot. So we're really trying to dig into that data and provide resources. We in fact added 4 community outreach people this year to better assess what our families need, and they do home visits and help provide technology as needed. And as Tony said, there's a lot of research out there about fixed broadband versus mobile internet, which is in fact part of why the ACS, the American Community Survey, which is the between censuses, that's what the government does. They measure them separately. As you can see across income lines and across certain ethnicities, you can see the variance in who gets mobile broadband versus fixed internet. So I think it's really useful that we look at them separately, because it is a level of access that's different.
I just want to also add from San Lorenzo, we do continue to do surveys and ask our families to provide input. So that also guides our decisions and lets us know, where some of the needs are.
Okay, thank you, Monique. With that, board member Pat, please.
I didn't have any questions, but I had just a quick comment I don't want people to forget about. I was on a different committee for the Alameda County Supervisors, and it was about Ashland. And Ashland is, I'm pretty sure it's still true, this was just a couple years ago, has a lot of needs. It's a food desert, for example, but internet access was a huge need. And so I was really happy when our school district was able to provide hotspots and Chromebooks to a large amount of the families in Ashland. And I know that doesn't affect the San Leandro School District as much, but because it is in the unincorporated area, but their address is San Leandro. So a lot of those residents feel like they can go to San Leandro to get some help as well. And now that the San Leandro Library can provide them some services, they're going to have even more interest in accessing things like Canopy or Overdrive through the library to find reading materials, for example, or movies to watch or whatever. So I just wanted to point that out so everybody kind of had it on their radar when you hear about anything regarding Ashland, because I think it's a community that we kind of both will need to collaborate to serve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Baloo, please.
Thank you, Mayor Cutter. I don't have any questions. I do have a few comments. I'll try and keep it brief, but there's about 5 different bullet points. Thank you for the presenters. We appreciate what you presented and all the information and getting it ahead of time. It's great to see all of our colleagues from the school board out there too. We don't get enough time to acknowledge each other as electeds and the good work that everybody's doing. And to echo what Councilmember Azevedo said, and we were talking about it earlier, it really is good to see everybody here in one meeting together. Thank you, Tony, for highlighting and showcasing our library system and the role that they play in the digital divide. It's a question I had, and you answered that so deftly that I don't have that question anymore. I know they're a big player and a big resource for our schools as well, especially our students. I know we have work to do in the digital divide, but I'm always one that likes to look back at the history and what got us here. And I appreciate the history that was in the PowerPoint presentation, but I think I'd be remiss if we didn't acknowledge again the partnerships between everyone, but the partnerships providing schools access, for example, the city providing all schools access to the SLY fiber. It was a resource that we had, and that was, I think, some of Mayor Cutter's vision and some prior city managers' vision. That was not a game changer, but it certainly made things a lot easier and brought a really big light on this issue. I also think that we have to appreciate the nonprofits, the groups that we've worked with, all of us, and the grants that we've gotten and what we've done to maximize that money, to really monetize, take that money and pay it forward 2-3 times. Also, I think just in closing, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge a couple of former colleagues. One current colleague, Councilmember Lopez, and former Councilmember Benny Lee, who worked tirelessly with the National League of Cities to make sure that San Leandro had access to the best opportunities for making sure our digital divide was dealt with in a positive manner. And lastly, I will conclude, before I was even elected, in a meeting with Mike McLaughlin, I think I was representing the San Leandro Scholarship Foundation at the time, when he shared his vision to put a Chromebook in every kid's hand. And just very visionary. And who would have thought COVID would all come to bring all of this to light, and we'd be here tonight talking about it. But Mike, I've told you before, we love you for your vision. We love you for your energy and passion for students in San Leandro, and also to our friends at San Lorenzo. I know you have the same passion, Dr. Camp. Welcome. And I know you have a vision. It's just awesome to have people in those positions that can see the future and move us towards the future. So those are my comments, Mayor Cutter.
Okay, thank you. And realize we have comments at the end too. This is kind of questions on the subject at hand. With that, I am not seeing any. Oh, there we go. Board Member Sheridan, please.
Thank you, Mayor Cutter. Same thing. I really don't have any questions, but I do have a few comments. I want to thank you each presenter for your presentation. It was informative, and the backstory I think helps bring it all together. I think one of the silver linings out of this pandemic is while education's always been working towards integrating technology, this pandemic kind of threw our feet in the fire. We had to jump in with both feet, pivot. Both districts had to say, we're not coming back. Let's get some Chromebooks deployed. Let's get some hotspots out there. Teachers had to look at a new way to teach. It was just totally a new modality and a new set of skills that we had to put to use. But some of the things that we can do right now is we can reflect on that data. I remember having some conversations, and these were just anecdotal conversations, but looking at some of the Wi-Fi hotspot usage and seeing that some of these hotspots were used in job searches, or probably during a time of COVID when everyone was stuck at home, more importantly, to seek out mental health services, you know, whether it was coming from a student or maybe an adult struggling during this pandemic. And I also remember a big push for census, and there was a push to register and complete your census online. Some council members, I know the city was pushing for it and asked, hey, is there a way you could put out a message for these parents to complete their census? And I think that's the type of collaboration we need between the district and the city. And I think we're going to make some progress on closing this gap. I mean, when we look at 23%, that is, I'm sure, a far cry from where we were 5 years ago. And now getting these devices and the big push for devices and one-to-one. And again, as Councilmember Blue mentioned, I remember when the superintendent came on board and he had a vision and looked at us, and we were 80-1 on devices. And he said, my goal is 1-to-1. Of course, with the help, all of the pieces fell together with the city and the generous contribution with the Wi-Fiber. Also the citizens of San Leandro that supported us through the bond measures that allowed us to do these tech upgrades and bring all of this into our school district to support our students. And we were fortunate enough that we had the majority of this in place at the time of the pandemic. So I look forward to future work and collaborating with all the agencies on tonight and see if we can continue to work this problem and close that divide. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other comments from my colleagues. So I have a few, Councilmember Lopez.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to just recognize the two school districts and congratulate you on being ranked on the US News and World Report recently. So that's really amazing that our school districts have done so well on a nationwide scale. Additionally, wasn't mentioned tonight, and I was actually a little surprised, but I know that both school districts have done an amazing amount of work on food insecurity and addressing food insecurity. I saw, lines of cars at various school sites, and I know that there was a lot of need that you really came through for our whole town. I want to thank the San Leandro Unified School District too for its partnership on Farley Pool. That is something that will be, for generations to come, something that will be enjoyed. And of course, Dr. McLaughlin and I continue to talk about offline, the design work that is currently undergoing for a pickup and drop off site at Bancroft that could work better for the neighbors and the school district both. On the digital divide, and I was a school board member before being a council member. And about 10 years ago, we started the conversation about having San Leandro be a beacon of technology. And the school district entered into that conversation with the city about connecting to the Wi-Fi system. And the contract was had, an agreement was had, an MOU was had for $1 a year with the city. And what happened then was that we as a school board, when I was a trustee, was really to find ways of not just having, because at the time people weren't talking about the digital divide, it was just about the divide in general, that the students were, were not able to perform as well. We thought this would be a game changer. At that point in time, scores were very low countywide. And again, congratulations to everybody. Now we're ranked nationally and have an award-winning school districts both. And I think in part because the issue around embracing technology early. During COVID, a lot of cities and attended meetings nationally and statewide, were trying to catch up on the technology issues. The cities were and the school districts were, and we had already done a lot of that groundwork and that groundbreaking type work, 8-10 years ago. And that's why we were able to do as well as we have, relative to really most of the United States in this time. And it's really a testament to how the city and the school districts can share resources, share knowledge, share ideas, and collaborate for the good of our families and our children. In general, congratulations again, school districts, for your work during this time on all the mobile hotspots and taking advantage of E-rate. Continue to take advantage of E-rate. And San Lorenzo Unified School District, it's an incredible thing that you're doing, the 2-to-1 ratio. I remember when I was a trustee, we were looking to at least have a 1-to-1 ratio. So this concept of a 2-to-1 ratio of having devices at home, so there's no need to transport, is truly taking it to the next level. And I thank and I congratulate you on your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, not seeing any other colleagues. I do have a couple comments. One is, first of all, thank you to the state of California for finally acknowledging that students need more money. In 2010, there was a big shift on what money. We went from having 25% of our budget cut from the year 2000 up to finally having it start to come into play of how important education is. And I know that we're still not there. Teacher salaries versus other salaries will be able to have that lesson. But I just think that now that we are at least in the position that we can buy the computers, one of the things I'd like to do, just for my own record, if you could send it out, and probably maybe just to all the people on the committee, is your stats about free and reduced lunch, what your, how many kids you have that are in that vulnerable zone. When you're looking at 2 different school districts, there's a lot of things that you take, into account, students that speak another language at home, their socioeconomics and so forth, renters versus homeowners. And I mean, there's just a million things that can affect kids, your McKenzie venue and so forth. So it would be nice to kind of have that as a background to some of these numbers that we're looking at here. One of the items and this, I don't know, this is kind of off the wall, but I told Board Member Rodriguez I was going to bring it up. And so here it is. So Tony, and this is not even probably for the school districts, but we do business with AT&T, we do business with Verizon, we do business with all these people that want hotspots, they want access to our telephone, our equipment. What would it take? And it wouldn't take just our city, I know that. It would take more of a statewide push, but what would it take for us to, in order to do that, all of these different carriers would have to donate to a fund that would then put hotspots or poles in these places that are deserts where we have connectivity. And I don't think the city is going to be so much there, but say if you're going down to Big Sur on the coast, or you're in Modesto in the fields, or things like that, there are many, many places where students aren't as fortunate as ours in the Bay Area, and they don't have this kind of connectivity. And is it something that we could actually start a movement through our school districts and our city to get other cities to join with us to, have that be part of what the Verizons and the AT&Ts of the future have to pay, for every, 20,000 telephone poles they get access to, they have to put one hotspot somewhere or one, antenna somewhere. Is that a pie in the sky dream? That would be the tone.
Mayor, it's in line with ideas that are out there, that have been proposed and discussed, and the idea of having the providers contribute to solving this issue certainly is been put forth. Where I don't want to say anything too. I don't think I'm going to get anything controversial by saying the providers haven't exactly been the best partners here. But I think you see, when you look into these issues over time, is that there's a pattern with providers of perhaps providing good public relations, but then fighting in the legal system efforts like this. And so time and time again, efforts like this have been challenged through the legal system. And oftentimes the providers, they're one of the biggest lobbyists at all state houses, local houses, and the federal government. And they tend to get laws massaged in a way that remove the ability for local agencies to have that ability to require those. And that is based, again, on the history, the patterns, but also based on our experience here in dealing with providers firsthand. And so that said, of course, the California Emerging Technology Fund, which is the body of the California Public Utilities Commission that gives grants out for digital inclusion, is largely funded by contributions from AT&T and Verizon and the big players. And that's one of the arguments they make, is that they put the money in that pot, and then the CETF and the California Advanced Services Fund, CASIF, which is another very similar fund organized by the Public Utilities Commission. So that is the body where we can collectively, that's who's funding our digital literacy grant program at the library. And those are the bodies where, there is a lot of money available. And if we could put together the plans and identify the needs and go through the grant process, certainly there is funding available to meet some of these needs that it's fair to say has been wrested back from the providers through the California Public Utilities Commission.
Okay. Yeah, I know that's not something that we're going to do, like I said, through our city or just our school districts, but I think it's something that we can talk to our lobbyists about and maybe get it started again through the state, because I think it's important. Like I said, we have more of a system here, but not. So Diana, is this you raising your hand?
Yes, that's me. I should know how to do it digitally, but I don't. So
I'll finish my comments after then. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just thinking while you were talking, we have some friends in Sacramento that could maybe help with this, because first of all, Mia Bonto was just elected to the state Senate, and her husband is the Attorney General. And she's been on a school board. She's got some connections there. They also, Malia Vela, has just gone to work for Tony Thurmond, and she was pretty active around here too. And then of course Tony Thurmond probably could look for a model set of districts that could maybe help with get involved in this. So I think maybe it'd be a good idea if somebody got busy and organized that.
Okay, well, I think I might just take you up on it. Sorry, I don't know if you heard remnants of Halloween, but it was somebody in my front room was playing Halloween a little bit loud there, so I had to go and turn that off. All right, so with that, I think that we have Councilmember Simon would like to make a comment before we move on.
Yes, very good presentations. Very excited to hear that we are breaking down this digital divide, as I totally agree and understand. We need connectivity to our kids to help them with their futures. So important, and so excited to see so many board members here that I've never met, and I'm excited to see you, and hopefully I can meet you in person sometime. I do have a couple questions and comments. One would be, and I'm not sure if I picked up on this or maybe I missed it, but just looking at our neighboring communities such as Ashland and Cherryland, but Ashland in particular, which is right next to us at Bayfair. What school district covers Ashland?
The different parts of Ashland, mainly at San Lorenzo. As you get up towards the hills a little bit, you can go into Castro Valley. And then as you get lower by Cherryland, it can go into Hayward.
Okay, so the Ashland closer to Bayfair, there's a community center there, Ashland Youth Center. I don't know the exact name.
Reach.
Yeah, Reach. But do we have any relationships with them and the community centers in providing connectivity and helping the youth there, not just in the school, but after school programs to connect, to do their homework, tutoring, things of that nature?
Councilmember Peck, are you not a council?
And our district is a major partner with Reach and has been since before it was built. So yes.
Okay, but as far as connectivity, as far as providing them, high quality internet,
Yes.
Wi-Fi that we're talking about, they have
Yes.
that?
Yes. In fact, the computer lab is run by the district is really the major person who runs it. Yes. They have other things too, of course, that other groups run, like the gym and the dance classes, but the computer lab is the school district is the major player.
Okay, yeah, it's just good to hear, since we're all so connected, just in a physical sense. We're all really almost on top of each other. Ashland, San Leandro, San Lorenzo, we're all like one. So I'm glad to hear that we're working together to share our technology and share information. So
In
it's good to
fact,
hear.
because the last census had to be done online, as I think a previous San Leandro board member mentioned. So a lot of people who don't have computers who live in Ashland, like let's say elderly people, they went to Reach, which is really for teenagers, but that was one place they could go to fill out the forms. So that's the kind of thing we collaborate with. Yes.
Okay, good. And the second comment I would have is, since there are so many board members here and council members here we're talking tonight about digital divide, but just in general, just the importance of our children and how critical they are to our city, to our future. I understand the way the meeting is set up, there's no public comment for just general topic items, but it sure would be glad if the public could speak in the future, since there's so many brilliant, bright minds here today to get input from others. So I just throw that out there. I'd be interested in seeing if we could have more dialogue with the public in these meetings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And on that note, I just wanted, the revised agenda that I'm working from does not have public comment. I realize that it was pointed out the agenda that's on our website had a provision for that. So it just was pointed out to me. So thank you, Councilmember Simon. Okay, with that, we are going to, that was our last person on that. We're going to move on to, like I said, 2C is talking about the host for next year. That would be San Lorenzo Unified. And I'm sure that the city and both school districts will be working together to find out what the title and the basis for that will be. It is now time for trustee member comments. And if you have a comment and that's different than your comment from before, or you have an additional comment you would like to make, I'll be looking at the hands raised and taking comments as we go until there are no more from my colleagues. So anyone have a comment? There we go. Councilmember Acevedo, please.
Yes, yeah, I wanted to bring up something else that I left off. We're talking about the divide. The divide's real big with the school districts where they're not aligned with the city. we have people that have to travel across town to go to be in their school district because the San Lorenzo School District's in part of San Leandro, where folks like that live in Herron Bay, by where they live, it's all San Lorenzo. And then you got to go a little bit over to the other part of the manor where it's James Madison, where it's San Leandro's unified. So I think that's one thing that I don't know how we could work on it, but we need to look into some way to look into to realign the school districts, I think, because a lot of people are being left out. And it's a challenge. Go ahead.
Yeah, this has been brought up by many people.
Yeah, I know it has, but
it's through the state of California that you could talk about that and talk about getting them to realign the school districts. Dr. McLaughlin, did you have a comment that you wanted to say on that?
No.
I'm sorry, I thought you were raising your hand.
No.
Okay. So yeah,
it's a bigger deal than just moving some lines. So it's you've got voters, you've got constituents, you got a lot of issues. So it's a much bigger issue. And right now, we're just trying to get kids in school.
Yeah, I understand.
There you go.
Okay. And the other thing is I didn't acknowledge earlier was all the food that was given out from the schools. Yeah, that was really important. And I volunteered some time giving out food, and it helped out a lot of students and a lot of kids. And when they had their choice to come back to school or not, they were still getting food, and it really helped a lot of people, a lot of students and kids that, that rely on getting meals in the morning and they're not able to get it, and the schools provided. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, any other San Lorenzo trustees? Dr. Camp?
Madam Trustee, I just want to bring to attention of the clerk, our Trustee Campos is in attendance now. So thank you and welcome, Trustee Campos.
Okay, thank you. Board Member Rodriguez, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge everyone on the meeting. I'm glad to see us all together again. I think the last time we did this was 2019. So it's really good to have us all in a room. I agree with some of the previous comments that maybe we should do this another time or more often, definitely. And wanted to give credit where credit is due on both presentations for the school district as well as the cities on your digital divide. I think I have a feeling that we're all kind of working toward a common goal, and that just makes me feel really good. As Council Member Simon said, we are all on top of each other. So the fact that we can all work together, it says something about who we all are, and that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, going once, going twice. Okay, Board Member Sheridan.
Yeah, and keep this brief. Besides acknowledging the city council, both school boards, I want to acknowledge the other agencies that we know are our support partners in the community. I see fire. I see our new police chief, Chief Bridgen. Look forward to working with him as well. And also the staff and cabinet behind all of us, because those are the guys, that's the workhorses in there. Those are the ones that take our vision, take our direction, and really implement it and get it done and make us all look good, because we know that the staff that we all have been absolutely great. And we're lucky to have them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Simon, please.
Yes, I also wanted to thank the school districts, for particular San Lorenzo, opening up the Manor School playground there during COVID. It was really nice to allow the kids who were, Zooming from home, some area to run and play and jump. And it really meant a lot to the neighborhood when you open those gates in that park. So I wanted to put a special thank you out for that. It really meant a lot to the parents and the kids. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm gonna then wrap this up. I'll give Board Member Peck, do you want to say anything, or Board Chair Gonzalez?
No, just to thank everybody. And yes, I'll be I'll be glad to meet more than once a year,
Okay.
as you guys know. And I'm really looking forward to the 150th anniversary. I hope you're going to have the Cherry Festival and
We're
parade
planning so far.
and the parade and everything. And
Yeah,
of
we were
course,
going to tell you about San Lorenzo Unified's in charge of the parade this year.
No, we're
because
not.
you're hosting the meeting, so you're also in charge of the parade.
no, we're not in charge of the parade, although I did participate in the parade for 25 years straight, going out there when it was still dark and building a float. So
Okay.
no, I'm not volunteering for that, but we will be glad to help and just keep us posted. We're very
Okay.
committed to helping celebrate that anniversary. Thank you.
All right. And then Evelyn, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just want to echo Trustee Sheridan's comment that yes, it's all the people that are behind us that are putting on these presentations and doing all the work. And we want to thank all of them for all that went into these presentations and went into COVID and the year that we've had. A lot of work has been done by staff, and we want to acknowledge and appreciate that this was a difficult time. And I look forward to actually seeing people in person. It would be really nice to do the dinner again prior to this meeting and actually get to sit down and meet people. You know, Zoom has been great. It's allowed us the opportunity to continue working, but I would love personal relationships and I look forward to that day. So thank you.
Okay, and then just to wrap it up, I do want to say, in the past, we had subcommittees like the council has a finance committee and a facilities committee. We also had a school liaison committee. And that's something, perhaps if it's not something that we want the whole joint meeting more times a year, we can have a subcommittee, doing the work with each, and it was every other month we meet with every other district. So that's something that we can consider too, if that's just something from the past that can be considered or not. The other thing I wanted to just acknowledge, our staffs, as everyone has talked about. My heart goes out to second grade teachers this year, because second grade teachers had 2 years worth of COVID learning at home and so forth. And all of a sudden they've got this classroom that they've got these students who need to sit on their bottoms and pay attention because they've got real curriculum they're throwing at them and so forth. And to teach not only manners, social skills, and all of that on top of all the curriculum that they're doing. My heart goes out to the second grader teachers this year. But anything that we can do to make the teachers, job easier or assist, because we all know that without our students, without our youth, we're nowhere. And that's really what we build our community on, and that's who we're building it for, and that's why we're all doing the jobs that we're doing. So with that, this is a very important committee, and I just really am appreciative that everybody's in it for the right reasons. And thank you all for being here. And with that, it must be rubbing off because it's the earliest meeting we've gotten out in our history. So thank you, everyone, for attending, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Safe, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Right.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.